This is a lot. This is so, like, aesthetically pleasing to look at. Just a stack of books. This is heavy. I'm gonna get my workout in today. I just have this feeling I'm going to drop these everywhere and one's going to hit my toe. Anyway. Hello, my name is Carly, if you're new here. If not, welcome back. So, we're in the best time of the year, fall or autumn, whatever word you prefer. I kinda use both. Autumn is much prettier sounding, but I usually just say fall. Around this time of year, I always want to read books. I feel like I take more of an interest in wanting to read more. I don't know, I think just because it starts to get cooler outside, especially this time of year, I always want to get back into reading. I always want to read scary books and thrillers and that sort of thing. So I have created a fall reading list, and some of these I have already read, and then there's 3 that are on my to be read. So hopefully I will get through to those. Honestly, I always feel like I'm still in a spooky, scary kind of mood even after Halloween. I don't know, like November still feels like fall to me. I don't really get into like that winter Christmas spirit until December 1st. And even in December and January and February, it's still cold and I'm still in a reading mood, so yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, I'm gonna start with 2 short story books. So the first one I have is The Complete Poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. Obviously it's by Edgar Allan Poe, but this was distributed by Signet Classics. So I remember in grade school reading the Raven poem, and that was like one of my favorite things I remember reading from school. It was so good, it was so creepy and eerie, but that was probably when I started to really get into like the spookier Halloween sort of tales. Anyway, so this I just thought would be a classic to throw in here. I got this off of Amazon, it was like under $5, so great little find. The next book is, if you are a millennial or a little older than a millennial or even Gen Z, I would say you would know about these, and that is the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. So this is just one book. It's one book. It is composed of, I believe there were 3 books. Yeah, I think there were 3 books. What's so nice, it's just so nice to have like all 3 of them composed as one book. These are just short stories. They're so good. Again, I read these as a kid. I think I was in like 5th or 6th grade, and I remember going to the library one day after school with my mom, and they had them like out on display. I think it was September or October. I was reading them and I was like, these are so good. So again, I've always been into that thriller horror genre for really since I was a kid. It was probably when it started. It's so nostalgic to read these again. If you don't want to necessarily read a full horror novel, then just pick up this and read a few short stories. That'll probably take you like 20 minutes to read. I just feel like I'm a kid again reading these. It's fun to just have a book of all 3 of them composed together. This would be a great gift to give as well if you know someone who read these, and that will probably be a perfect gift to give. Now we're getting into the novels. Okay, so my next book is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a very old book. It was first published in 1890. This is considered to be part of that Gothic literature, I believe. It's a great book. It's not necessarily a Halloween story. It's definitely that creepy, kind of disturbing story. So if you don't know what it's about this young man, Dorian. He gets his portrait painted, and he's really obsessed with vanity and like himself and how he looks. As time goes on, he is essentially ageless. He doesn't age, but the portrait ages. He definitely gets into some stuff. Definitely that more just creepy Gothic novel. Would recommend this, especially if you want to read a good classic novel. This would be a great one. The next book is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. Should I cover my face? No. And I think I read this about 3 years ago, and I read it within like a week, which is unheard of with me. It normally takes me, I feel like it takes me like a month to read a book. But this I went through pretty quickly. It's essentially about fallen angels, which again is kind of that creepy undertones to it. So I'll just go ahead and read the back. When Nora and Patch are forced together as lab partners, Nora would rather fall to her death than put up with his elusive answers to her questions, his teasing, and his infuriatingly handsome face and hypnotizing eyes. It seems Patch was put on Earth just to drive her crazy. But before long, Nora's defenses start to break down as her curiosity about Patch heats up. Ooh, spicy. Why does he always seem to be wherever she is and know exactly what she's thinking? How does he know what to say to both attract and repulse her? What is up with those V-shaped scars on his chiseled back? As their connection grows stronger, Nora's own life becomes increasingly fragile. Nora needs to decide, is Patch the one who wants to do her harm or the one who will keep her safe? Has she fallen for one of the fallen? So, there you have it. Basically, this fallen angel has been around for a couple hundred years, I think. We gotta read the book. He's watching over this young woman and they start to have a thing. It's definitely romantic, and I'm not a romantic novel person. I have never read like a Nicholas Sparks books. I really never intend to. That just doesn't interest me. This, however, was good, and I was iffy about reading this just because it was like romance, and it's definitely more that supernatural romance. It's a supernatural story, there is romance, but they don't just focus on that. They do talk a little bit about the fallen angels that you hear about in religion, especially, more particularly the Bible mentions it a lot. Now, this is a current read. I'm in the middle of reading this book, and I cannot put it down, and I wanted to mention it. The next book is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I hope I pronounced that right. This, I can't put down. It is so good. It's about this young woman. She goes to Yale University. She's in charge of kind of watching over these secret societies within Yale University. And what I mean by secret societies, I mean they're practicing witchcraft, occult practices, there's some magic, it's fantasy, there's some horror involved, there's gore involved, there is definitely some ghosts involved too, which is really cool. Even Stephen King says, the best fantasy novel I've read in years. So if the man of horror, Stephen King, says it's good, then it must be pretty good. Again, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Next, I have 3 books that are on my TBR, to be read list. I will not get through these by the end of the month. Next one is another classic from that Gothic era, and that is the classic Dracula by Bram Stoker, or Bram Stoker. Does anyone know how to pronounce that? Unless you've been living under a rock, Dracula is this vampire who lives in this castle, and he's a vampire. Dracula, he is the classic vampire who we all know, so that is on my list of books to be read. Next, I have, again, from the man of horror himself, Stephen King's The Shining. I've never read a Stephen King novel. I went on Google one day and I googled, what are the best Stephen King novels to start out with? And The Shining was on the list. I know what The Shining's about. It's about this man who brings his family. They stay at this hotel in the middle of winter. I'm just kind of going off of what I know, but he starts seeing things and he goes crazy, basically. So it's definitely centered around that. So I'm very excited to read it. My mom has read this and she recommended it. Last but not least, I have heard so many good things about this book. It's definitely on my list to be read. And that is Mexican Gothic, and that is by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. It's about a young woman who, I believe she goes and visits her cousin. Her cousin is saying all these things that are gonna happen to her. This young woman, Naomi is her name, she lives a very glamorous life and she's going off to go help her cousin. There's definitely all kinds of dark, gothic elements to this book. So I'm very excited to read that. Okay, so that is it for my fall reading list. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what books you guys are going to be reading this fall. Let me know if you've read any of those or if there's any you recommend. I was spending like a whole day one day just looking up like best books to read this time of year, and of course Stephen King showed up, the Mexican Gothic book showed up. I'm excited to keep reading for fall. I'm always in a fall mood. This time of year, I always just want to get snuggled up and read a book or watch a horror movie, And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I did. I like talking about books throughout high school and college. I really just hadn't, I mean, I wanted to read and I would buy books, but I would just never read them. But now that I'm, you know, I work a full-time job now and I definitely have time to read more. And it's just so easy to pick up a book and start reading it, I feel like. And I read a lot as a kid at one point. It's so easy for me to get into the horror thriller genre of books versus any other kind. So I feel like reading also helps ease my anxiety a lot too. It just helps get my mind off things. It helps me fall asleep too. So I've definitely been trying to get back into that habit of just reading a little bit every night, even if it's just 3 pages. That helps me fall asleep and just get my mind off of things. And I remember why I liked reading so much as a kid. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful fall season. Enjoy your books, your movies, your candy, your pumpkin spice lattes. It's the best time of year. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. All right, pose for the thumbnail.